In this video, I want to show that the basic idea of decomposition is you're still able to use that in data frames. I'll walk through an example. You can see we're going to do some kind of movie thing that basically takes all of these data frames and kind of ties them together, and then we create a function that does that. So at first I'm going to prototype it, and then I'm going to create the function afterwards. And so that's the idea of today's lesson. The data frame, or the things that we're going to be using today, are this movies. There's a movie data frame. We're going to bring it in. It's actually just a data file. I'm going to bring it in as a data frame, and I'm going to call the first column movie ID, then name the genre, and you'll see that in the code. User ID. So then you got a bunch of users, and then the information that we collected for the users were the user ID, the gender, the age, the occupation, the zip code. In the ratings, you can see there's a timestamp on there, and then the user ID, which connects the user back to the user ID here, the movie ID, which connects the movie back here, and then the rating, whatever the rating was, some number between 1 and 5, and then we can use, and then the timestamp. We're not really going to use the timestamp at all. It is possible to use it, but we're just not interested in it right now, or at least in this particular lesson. So this is quite standard. So to have these in 3 different tables is a very, very standard thing to do. The reason why you want to do that is because you just want to have the minimal amount of information that connects these things to each other. So I might have a whole lot of things I want to collect in the movie, but when I go to find its rating, I only need to connect that with the movie ID. I might have this is only maybe 4 or 5 things in here for each user, but I could have collected 50 things or 100 things or whatever on the user, but I don't need to repeat all that information when I'm given the rating. Just give me the user ID, and later on I'll be able to connect back and find out which user and all the information that belongs to them is associated with that rating. That's the idea behind it. You also, you're not limiting the number of the number of ratings that you can give each user. I mean, it's just a very, very nice way, very, very nice database way to connect things together. So that's the idea behind it. So let's get started. Here's the way that we imported the table. So they're in a .dat file, which if you did the read table here, you'll see that, and it took a second for it to pop up. So again, there's greater than 3,500 movies. There's over 1 million ratings, and there's 6,000 users. And now we need to somehow get at what's going on. So the idea that I want to do is I want to create this table that just produces this histogram. So use the data to produce a histogram for movie rating for a particular age range. So that's what I want to do. So the first step here is let's get out the users that are between that age range, and I think it's pretty straightforward. So users, I don't know, call it filter, is equal to users dot query. Let's see, what is my query going to be here? In users, I just want, and match gender, so age and gender. So in this case, I'm going to let gender equals and let's see, what else do we want? Age to be greater than or equal to 20, and age to be less than or equal to, end it. So the question is will this work? So users.query. Oh, I just want to run this first part first to find out what it's doing. Cannot assign without a target object. Cannot assign without a target object. Users.query gender. Oh yeah, I tried to assign it there. That's the problem. Equal to, it's really equal to, right? So you got to do that. Okay, so we're getting all of this information. Now I don't need all that information. Really what I need are the user IDs. So I want to get the user IDs out of there that match up with that, and then we'll come back and user ID. I'll go to user IDs, I click on this, I get all the user IDs. And that 3 doesn't really mean anything to anybody except for the fact that everywhere there's a 3, that means it's somebody who was a male who was between the ages of 20 and 30. So that's what I want to do there. And what I'm going to do is follow the broad. All I did was, in order to do that, was just I double clicked this, and I found a movie that I thought might have some kind of bias between age groups, and I think maybe the younger generation might not like this, and maybe the older generation does. I don't know. And it's a part two. So, but it was one of these ones that was in here, so, or very early in the database. So I'm going to use that one. And then what I got to do now is find out the movie ID. So movie ID is equal to, so just go into the movies data frame and then pull out where movies, is it name? Let me make sure, name. So I'm trying to find the ID where name is really equal to movie string. Didn't do that. F9, F9. Still didn't like, oh, movie underscore string. Try that one. All right, so movie should be only one. So there's only one movie ID that's associated with that one, and there it is. Okay, so we're sitting good there. And then the next one is I guess probably the hardest piece to it. So let's think about this for a second. I want to pull out all the user IDs in ratings that match the filter that I just came up with. And so there's a neat little method that does that. So ratings, and then user ID, and it is a user ID. It's for series, so it's a method for a series object. So by pulling out just the column that's associated with user ID, now I have a series. So if I just hit F9 here, you see that it's just a series, right? It's just a bunch of numbers here. So those are all the user IDs. Oh yeah, so the reason why there's a whole bunch of ones is that you can definitely have more. Each user is definitely going to have more than one rating, right? So if I only have, let's see, 6,000 users and I have over 1 million, I know I'm in fact going to have a whole bunch of ratings by each user, and that's okay. So ratings user ID dot is in, and then all you pass in this is in function is the filter, or the thing that you want it to determine if it's in or not. So users filter F9. So now this is a Boolean mask where whatever the user ID was for that rating, then it's true. So these will be all the ones that are in there. And so that's just for the users. Now I want to also do the same thing for movie ID. So movie ID dot is in, and then this time I'm going to use the movie ID that we just got out that's associated with that name follow the broad too. And another Boolean mask. So obviously these ones are the ones at the beginning, and you can do a dot sum. So if you want to know how many ratings that you had, ooh, there's 0. That's not good. Movie ID is in movie. So I think it's 3. So movie ID is in fact 5. Movie rating is in movie ID. Maybe. Oh, it's yeah, it's count. Is in. No, it's definitely. It's count is every single one of them. So this thing is telling me right now that ratings doesn't have any movie ID. Oh, did I do movie ID? I did do movie ID. Here, let's do this. Let's just look at this guy. F9. Movie underscore ID. Movie ID. All right, let's try it again. Let's try some other way then. Ratings. Movie ID really equal to, was it 5? And not some. That's probably what I forgot. I didn't put the parenthesis around it. I'm sure you probably had to have a parenthesis around it, maybe. No, it just doesn't like that for some reason. Is in movie ID. Movie ID. Oh, maybe we need to call this movie ID something different. Oh, you know what it is? It has 3 of them in here. That's the problem. I only want this guy out. All right, so that tells us that I got to come back here, and I only want a string movie. Is it underscore ID? That should work. And now, yes, 296. I got all 296. So just know that this is an alternative way of doing it. I wanted to use that is in, and I don't think we needed these parentheses. Yes, 296. Okay, so that works. All right. The reason why you want to do this sort of one step at a time is to make sure that your code is making sense before you put it into this bigger, kind of nastier looking thing. So now what I'm going to do is ratings, and I'm going to put 2 Boolean masks in that has an ampersand sign or an and sign in between them. And then I'm just going to copy this one because this will get all of the user IDs. So I want it to be the intersection of all these user IDs that are between the ages that I'm talking about. And we can get rid of this dot sum now that we know that it's given us something. And there. I guess I should have done dot sum here too. So there's 304,000 user or ratings that where their ages were between 20 and 30. There you go. All right, so now let's see what that does for us. And it looks like there's 80 rows and 4 columns. So now we have the movie IDs. They're all 5s because we made sure that was true. And let's see, where do I want to break this thing up? Because it's going past. Maybe I do a slash enter. Oh, I don't need the slash. Good. It's within that bracket there, so we don't need the slash. So we just make sure that works. So there's 80 of them. Now what I want to do is I want to produce some kind of distribution. So I'm going to come back and say pop rating. I'm going to call it, yeah, we'll call this this guy. Control V. And then what do we want to do with this information is I want to do what to it? So just realize that if we ran everything from rating over to here, it's going to be that data frame. Now, what do I want to do with that data frame? I want to now group it somehow, and you probably want to group it by the ratings. So ratings, see ratings, all of that should be good. And then at the end of it, we want to do a group by. We're going to group it by rating. And then I think maybe we need a count here, so I'm going to count all of each one of those ratings instead of doing it by. Here, let's see what that gives us. Pop rating. All right, so it looks like it gave us the count of all the 1s, all the 2s, all the 3s, all the 4s, all the 5s. And then we can just pull one of them out, right? Because it's counting all the movie IDs, all the times, all the user IDs. I only need one of them, and so I'm going to pull out just one of those user ID and be done with it. Okay. And why is that on there? End of line while scan. Oh, I forgot to put that guy. And I don't think we need two of them. All right, let's find out what that gives us. F9, hopefully it's just one. Pop rating is a series now. It has these as indexes, so the ratings are the indexes. So 5 people between the age of 20 and 30 who were males gave Father of the Bride a positive or a most liked, I guess. I'm assuming that 5 means it's a great movie. All right, so now how would I use this information? So let's use the pop rating to answer the question, right? So now I want to go back and say, here, let's go pop rating is equal to, now I'm going to take this and turn it into a data frame. And then, so this is another way to take a series and turn it into a data frame. So you can just throw it inside a dictionary. So I'm going to let's see, rating pop, and then comma, P dot zeros, where I need the length of pop. Right, so pop rating is how big? It's 5 right now, but I don't want it to be tied to that one. I guess it could be tied because it's not it's always going to be only 5 ratings, but just in case we have a different sort of rating thing. All right, and now it looks like this where there's 10. So what do I want to do now is take the 10 and divide it by the sum, so I get a sort of a distribution, if you will. So I'm going to copy pop rating, Control C, pop rating, distribution is equal to, let's see, what was it again? Rating and then dot sum, right? Because I want to add up all those guys, which will be a constant, and F9. So now let's look at it. So 12.5%, 23.75, 32.5, and so on and so forth. All right, what if I wanted to now take that? So pop rating distribution. And now I want to turn it into, I think we said a histogram or something like that, right? So that sort of gives you a visual of what this thing's doing. We go plot and then box. Do that. Ooh, not box. It's a bar. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to give us a bar plot. So it gave us a little bar plot, and it looks like, man, it's like a really normal distribution. All right. So that's the things that I want to do in order for this function down here to work. So I'm going to now use this sort of walking through it, and then I'm going to create, so hit F9. So I'm going to use this at business here that we talked about, I think, last video, and I'm going to build these queries based on that. Okay, so let's go to this function. So what I want this function to do is, if I pass in a movie string like the one that down here, Jumanji. So if I pass in Jumanji, male, 10, 40, and 10 to 40 being my age range, then I want to then use that to now do exactly what we did up here, sort of one step at a time. But I wanted to do it all at one time. So let's go ahead and start filling in the gaps here. So what is my user query going to be? So user query is equal to gender is really equal to, here, I'm just going to pop up here and grab this one. So this would be the user query here, Control C, and we'll just bring it back to our Control V. And instead of hard coding in male, I'm going to put at gender, passing in. Age is now going to be not hard coded at 10, but it's going to be at age, and then the 0 element, the first element. This one's going to be age I don't know, I forgot the at sign. So at age 1, so the second. Enter. So that would be my user query. And then if I want to now get the users underscore, that's going to be what? So I'm going to come back up here. So remember, we did this little prototyping up here so that making this function wouldn't be that difficult, and we can sort of step through it, right? So that's the reason why you did it. And then instead of doing this in here, I'm going to call this user query, right? Because we just defined it right above there. And then, yeah, user ID. So we're doing all of the same things that we had done before. And now movie ID is something like this, Control C, Control V. So now we get movies, movie ID, name, movie string, and that's the same thing that I'm passing in. So this thing doesn't need to be changed at all. That's pretty cool about our prototyping piece there. And then I'm going to get my pop rating. So I'm going to come over here, Control C, and then paste it in here. And then what is pop ratings? Ratings. Let's see, user ID is in user filter, which we already found. And ratings, movie ID is in movie ID, which we already found right there. Dot group by rating. Let's see. Maybe we just come underneath that. Oh, and I probably need the slash here. I don't think. Oh, maybe I am in a maybe not. I just want to make sure. So I'm putting the slash down there. And then I think we're done with that. And then we can pop out and do exactly the same thing we did here, where we take it and turn it into a data frame. Matter of fact, I'm going to just grab all of this, Control C, and then we'll just check to make sure. Or we've updated everything so it's not hard-coded. So nothing's hard-coded. So then you get pop rating is equal to this data frame, pop rating, which we found right above it. MP0s, pop rating, so it should be good. So dividing by, and then the sum, and then distribution plot bar. Okay. All right, and then we're going to return pop rating. So let me go ahead and see what happens now. So F9, and then hopefully if you've done all of your prototyping above correctly, then this will just be nothing more than just copy pasting and then making sure you generalize it. Okay, so we get, so Jumanji has this distribution. So 5s are still very low, 5%. So the reason why I wanted to do distributions here, I mean, we could definitely do ratings, but I just wanted to see, I think sort of normalizing it is probably the best way of going about it. Now, the last thing I want to do is so that make this our lives a little bit easier by producing this, is just to see a whole one of these data frames. I want to show you guys how to take this thing and turn it into a CSV file or an Excel file or whatever. So I'm going to do CSV file right now, but let's see, movies. So I'm going to turn this one into a CSV file. So let's do that. Let's say movies, and then dot, there's lots of methods to underscore CSV, and then what you have to put in the parentheses here is what the name of it's going to be. So dot data slash, and then here's where, so this is the path. So I know my data folder is one above, so I went up one, and then I'm in the data folder by using that, and that's my path to the place, and then I'm going to call it movies.csv, and then we're done. So that's really all you have to do. And you hit F9, and then it sort of goes to the next line. You can know, actually, I'm not going to pull it in there. I'm going to pull it up this way. So open. So I'm going to go up one, go down to data, and then pull up this new thing that I just did, and you can see. Now, I don't like the fact that there's an extra column here. That's the index. If you don't, you can keep the index if you want, but if you want to turn off the index, there's certainly a way. So remember, there's two numbers sitting right beside each other, and they're always one off. I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is come back in here and go index is equal to, I think you got to turn defaults. And if you do that, let's see what happens. So I'm going to open up again, go up, go into data. All right, now we see there's only one number, and that represents the movie ID, the name, and genre. Okay, so this is the CSV file. This has to be bad. Older people cannot like this. Mortal Kombat. I've watched that movie, or I've seen that movie. I shouldn't say I watched it. I've seen the previews for it, and it did not look good. So let me find out what happens in this one. Oh, this is, I'm still in the younger age. Or, oh, 10 to 40. How about from 40 to, these guys gotta hate this. There's no, so there are no fives. There's a bunch of ones and twos, and just, I guess people just being nice. I don't know. Let me try 50 to 60. I don't know how many do we have? Oh, I didn't see. We can print it off too. So if you just do F9 here, it'll print off. Oh, there's only, so from 50 to 60, only 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6 people. I don't know if only 6 people saw it, but only 6 people that were in that age bracket made a recommendation. And you can see it's sort of an inverted normal distribution. Okay, well, that's all I got. Hopefully I didn't take too long on this. I will see you guys next time.